Hello and welcome to Marketing Cap. Today we'll be discussing the buying formula theory of selling. This is a theory of selling that focuses on the buyer's perspective as they make a purchase decision. So while the origin of this formula or this theory is unknown, Edward Kellogg Strong Jr. is said to be at least a modifier or contributor to this theory. And it looks like this. If you look at the individual items of this theory, it's quite similar to the consumer buying process and other selling theories. But without further ado, let's jump into the first stage of this theory, which is the problem or the need. This is when a person feels a certain sense of dissatisfaction or a challenge which they have. And this challenge that they have results in the need for something to fix the challenge. It results in the need for a solution to the problem that they have. So for example, if someone has a faulty car, maybe there's a problem with the engine, or they were recently involved in a car crash and the car is all dented and messed up, that is a problem and it results in the need for a new car. And that takes us to the next step, which is the solution or the product, plus the brand name. So this stage is sort of like two-pronged. So it starts off with the solution, which is a thing that solves the problem that a person has, which is in the form of a product or a service. The solution is in the form of a product or service. And this solution, the product, is offered by salespeople. So once again, with our car example, if someone has a faulty car, the solution to that situation could be purchasing a new car. So they go to a car dealership and the salesperson shows them different cars that meet their criteria. Those cars are the solution. The other aspect is the brand name. When people purchase things, they tend to look at trusted brands because they know that these brands offer good products. So for example, if you are an athlete, you might look at brands like Nike and Adidas when you want to purchase your apparel. That's because many athletes wear sportswear from these brands, and many of us may have used these products in the past from these brands and it worked perfectly well. So you want to buy that same brand because you've established that trust. You know that they have good quality things. So both the product, the solution, and the brand name should be adequate. And adequacy pretty much means that the product should be able to solve the problem that a person has. It should be able to fully solve a problem that a person has. So if we go back to our car example, if the person looking for a new car is a family person, they're going to look for a car which has a large enough seating capacity for all members of the family. Suppose it's a family of 4 people, 2 parents, 2 children. They'll look for a car with at least 4 seats. A common car would be like with 5 seats. So something like, say, maybe an SUV. And that would be different from a 2-seater car. While a brand new 2-seater would be a solution because a person needs a new car, but a 2-seater is not sufficient, it's not adequate. Hence, it's important that the solution is sufficient to solve the problem that a person has. And the solution and the brand name should bring about pleasant feelings in a person. So for example, Volvo is known to be a brand that makes safe vehicles. So a family person is probably going to really care about safety. Hence, they would maybe look for a Volvo family car because they know that Volvo cars are safe. So that brings about a certain sense of confidence, a certain sense of pleasant feelings that this car is indeed going to keep me and my family safe. And that leads to the next stage, which is the purchase stage. So once a person has recognized the problem and identified the solution, the next stage is to actually purchase that solution. And the purchase stage is when a prospect chooses whether or not to buy the proposed solution, the proposed product or service. So the purchase stage doesn't always end in a purchase being made. It is merely a decision to either buy or not to buy. And essentially at this stage, you try to convert the prospect to a customer. And in order to do this, sellers should focus on using things like personal selling to guide the prospect throughout the purchase process, because some customers could be making a first-time purchase. They may not be sure of what they're doing, so they need someone to help them and guide them throughout this process. A lack of guidance could lead to the prospect giving up on the situation or going elsewhere where they will get that assistance. And another thing to do as a seller is to offer various payment options to convert this prospect to a customer. So offering things like cash payments, card payments, electronic funds transfer. That's because different customers have different preferences. Some have strong beliefs in using cash. Others would rather use their cards. Others will use electronic funds transfer methods like, say, PayPal, Venmo, wire transfer, Swift transfer if necessary. In India, there's this pretty cool thing called UPI. I believe it stands for Unified Payments Interface. It's a very convenient method. Another thing to do is offering credit to your customers. So that's essentially allowing your customers to purchase things on a loan over a longer period of time. And this is usually done for more expensive purchases, like when purchasing cars. So let's use an example of a person purchasing a $100,000 car. To spend $100,000 ASAP on the spot is going to be quite a lot, and it will affect the cash flow position of the customer. They might have other expenses that they need to make. So by offering credit in the form of, say, $10,000 payments over 10 months, that will make the customer more willing to make the purchase, as initially they only have to pay $10,000 and over time they can finish off the payment. Another thing you could do is offering discounts. So by offering discounts, that's an incentive to make the customer purchase the thing right there and now, especially if you allow the customer to believe that they're getting a good deal. And if your discount makes the price of the product below the budget that the customer had, it looks cheap to them. So once something looks cheap, once a customer feels like it's a good deal, they're more likely to make that purchase as they feel smart, they feel confident in what they're doing. And the last stage is satisfaction. So this is the customer's judgment of the product or service after they have bought and used it. And this may be either satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Satisfaction does not mean that the customer is satisfied, it's how satisfied or dissatisfied they are with a product or service. And on the negative side, it could be so bad that the customer ends up regretting the purchase. This is called buyer's remorse. When they have an awful feeling about the purchase, they feel like they paid too much for it, maybe they didn't need it, maybe they were pressured by the salesperson. Ultimately, you want your customers to feel like they're doing things out of their own will. They should do things out of their own will, and you should not try to fool them. They should feel confident about what they've done and that the product is actually worth the while. And from the perspective of a seller, in order to keep your customers satisfied, you could do things like offering after-sales services. This includes things like replacements. So if a customer buys something, say for example a shirt which is too big, they should be able to come back and get a shirt which fits them, a smaller shirt which fits them. This keeps the customer happy as they have something that is actually of their size. Another thing you could do is offering things like service and maintenance. So for example, with cars, your customers should be able to come back when they have a problem and you fix it for them. The maintenance or the service could either be for free or charged, but ultimately you want the customer's products to keep on working in pristine condition. That keeps them happy. You could offer things like refunds. If someone purchases something and they think it's not up to the mark and they want to get their money back, you should be able to do that. That is going to build trust between you and the customer, because the customer knows that if they ever buy something from you, they can always give it back if it's not up to the mark. So they know that you're not trying to fool them. You're sort of a person of your word. And it's easy to offer refunds when you know that you have a product which is sort of irresistible or works quite well, because people won't actually come for the refunds if your product works well. And lastly, another thing you could do is offering follow-ups or making follow-ups to just checking on your customers and ensure that everything is good with the product that they purchased. So that's the buying formula theory. It's pretty similar to other selling theories. One theory is the consumer buying process. If you look at the stages, they're actually quite similar. So do with that as you will.